People often talk about the blessings of God, but they rarely let us know that the blessings of God are actually a part of an if-then statement. They only tell us the then, but I'm about to tell you the if. Hey, it's Sean again, and it's really great to see you all. As always, I'm sorry that you couldn't join us this week, but if you stay tuned, then I'll give you my recap of what we do every Sunday. Why do we make these videos? Well, we make these videos to help you engage your faith on the 6 days between Sundays when the church buildings are empty. This is Empty Church as seen on Sunday.
You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. The Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but flee from you in 7.
We just heard some blessings. And these blessings come from the book of Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy is mostly comprised of a bunch of speeches that Moses gives to the Israelites as a way of renewing their covenant with God before he left and they crossed over into the promised land. If you're looking for where the if-then statement comes into all of this, like I said at the beginning of our video, it actually comes in right at verse 1 of Deuteronomy 28. And that says, "If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands, I will give you today. The Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on the earth. All these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God." So where's the if then? If you obey God, then you will be blessed. So I've heard a lot of people preach on the 2 verses that I had my father read, but we don't talk about the if-then statement. And so what if all these blessings that we've been promising to people in this American church are actually contingent on their obedience, but we just tell them that God wants them to be blessed? Truthfully, all of this seems to be in the exact opposite of the theology that we've been preaching to people, that God just wants them to be happy and blessed and everything to be great for their lives and no hardship. But we're missing the part where God says that we need to obey his commandments, and then it goes well with us. And that's not even to mention the part where it going well with us might actually not happen until we're finally with God in heaven, fully reunited with him in perfect relationship. Because this world is broken, and there's hardship, and there's the curse on the earth, and we constantly deal with the results of other people's sin. We can't even guarantee a perfect life on earth. So ultimately, all those blessings that we're expecting might not actually show up until we get to heaven. So what happens when the covenant is broken? Well, God says that all of those blessings that he's been telling us about are in reverse. I could read them, but literally a lot of them are just the exact opposite. Instead of our enemies fleeing 7 ways, we're the ones that are fleeing 7 ways. Instead of being blessed when we go in and out, we're cursed when we go in and out. In chapter 28, we have 14 verses of blessings, and then essentially 54 verses of all the curses. The exhaustiveness of this list is meant to show us just how severe disobeying or turning away from God actually is. If we think back to Lamentations real quick. We see what happens to the Israelites when they had created a culture around disobeying God. And Deuteronomy is the book of the Bible. It's part of the Pentateuch, which all the Israelites would have been really familiar with. It's the staple that really brings it all together, and they would have known everything it says, yet they wanted to rely on other gods as being their blessing. And so God essentially removes his hand, removes his blessing from them, and they see the result of that. So today we hate this idea of obedience or submission because, well, at least I think, because it forces us to acknowledge something or someone bigger than ourselves. In this existentialistic and postmodern world, we want to be our highest power, our God essentially, and to put someone, or being God, on a level where we have to submit and obey him, we take ourselves down a notch, and we're not willing to do that. Rather than all of this being what we do, I imagine it is a direction of our heart, which eventually does come out in actions. And I think Deuteronomy 29:19 puts it very well. And that says, when such a person hears the words of this oath, he invokes a blessing on himself, and therefore thinks, I will be safe, even though I persist in going in my own way. And it's about the stubbornness of our heart and how we want to do what we want to do. We want to be our own highest power, yet we still want the blessings. But we don't want to submit or obey something else, or someone else being God. This all describes the opposite of a obedient heart. And it's a heart that, although it knows all the blessings of God, it blesses itself. It's unrepentant and unresponsive to God, and so it blesses itself rather than submit itself to God. So some may ask, why is obedience required? And I think it's that obedience and submission comes down to acknowledging God. In Acts 16, the jailer asks Paul and Silas, what must he do to be saved? And their response is to believe in Jesus. What does he do with this information? He cleans their wounds and then is baptized along with his family. Where's this connection here? They tell him to believe in Jesus, and then he immediately takes action. And so I think that this is a obedience of the heart. So he was completely submitted to God, and as a result, he cleaned up their wounds and was baptized as a sign that he believed in God. So my ultimate question to everything we've talked about today is, why do we treat this whole thing like that terms of service agreement that Google and your apps that you download, or even your phone gives you, and you just hit accept and you don't even read it? Why do we treat the Bible that way? Why do we treat everything that God has revealed to us that way? And why do we just assume that by hitting accept, by saying, I accept that God exists, entitles us to have blessings, entitles us to go to heaven, entitles us to all these things, when we haven't even read it, and we haven't even begun to follow the instructions that are in this book? That's where I'm going to end the video this week. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button. For more ways to engage your faith on the 6 days between Sundays, check out our website at www.empty.church. And again, my name is Sean, and I know it's not the same as being here, but you've just been to Empty Church as seen on Sunday. See you next week.